A second major news story that's really overshadowed by the Biden bombshells, but this one's big too because of the implications, but also what it shows us about what the media has been saying in the past and how serious they are willing to take their own words. You have heard, no doubt, for years about Russian interference in our election. And there's this constant specter, this constant fear of, oh my gosh, at any moment Russia might interfere. Russia's hiding under your bed. It's in the closet. Putin might steal everything from you. Oh no, what are we going to do? Right? They've made everyone think that Russia is a huge, huge problem for all of us. When the reality, as we see it, is that Russia, sure, is sometimes in opposition to U.S. interests, but they did not steal the last election with $100,000 of Facebook ads by some bot farm in a basement in Russia somewhere, right? That's just insane. There's no way. But they lost all sense, or they abandoned all sense of context and all sense of, the way that anybody who's being honest would weigh these issues. So we had this Russia collusion, stealing the election thing, and you kept hearing about Russian interference in our election, and we're supposed to always be worried about this. Well, turns out Iran has tried to interfere in our election and exposed a lot about certain groups, certain individuals in that process. Here is the DNI, Ratcliffe, making an announcement about this just last night. This was breaking news yesterday evening. Play 14.
We would like to alert the public that we have identified that two foreign actors, Iran and Russia, have taken specific actions to influence public opinion relating to our elections. First, we have confirmed that some voter registration information has been obtained by Iran and separately by Russia. This data can be used by foreign actors to attempt to communicate false information to registered voters that they hope will cause confusion, sow chaos, and undermine your confidence in American democracy. To that end, we have already seen Iran sending spoofed emails designed to intimidate voters, incite social unrest, and damage President Trump.
Iran is sending emails. What are those emails saying? What is the Iranian government doing here? That's what you have to look at first, and to see what's happening, so we can really understand all of this. But I will tell you this much: just based on the statement of the DNI here, what we know is that Iran is interfering in our election on behalf of Joe Biden. And by the rules established by our biased and moronic media in 2016, this now means that if Trump loses, we could spend 4 years whining about how Iran stole the election for Biden, and maybe we can even unleash a special counsel on him because of it. Now, let me say, because I'm not crazy, Iran is not stealing the election for Joe Biden. It's not going to happen. They don't have the influence operations capability. It's just they can't. But what the Democrats did in 2016 was essentially look at the circumstances that we're looking at now with Iran and say, oh, but Russia did something, and because Russia did something and we're sad that the election was lost, let's say that Russia's the reason the election was lost. Let's wildly exaggerate the ability of the Russian trolls, the bot farm, to influence things in this election cycle, because that makes us feel better, and it also then becomes a weapon against the other side. Even though there was no Russian collusion, to this day, it is a widespread belief among Democrats that the only reason they lost that 2016 election is because of Russian intervention. That's what they tell themselves. That is the widespread belief among Democrats. And that also then justifies in their minds their complete lack of any respect for the office and any willingness to really concede that Trump is, in fact, the president. They will not concede that. They won't do it. because they say, not my president, and, illegitimate and hashtag resistance and all this stuff, all because of Russia. So we're now in a place where we could say, we very well could, if we wanted to be a bunch of dishonest crybabies like the Democrats by and large are, we could do the same thing. So thanks, Iran. You've now given us a ready-made excuse, just like the Democrats took in 2016. If our guy doesn't win, it's because of Iran. Iran, Iran, Iran. We'll just talk about it all the time. That would be stupid. It would be intellectually dishonest. But it's exactly what they did. That is how they played the game. But now the funnier part for me is that when this initially happened, you know what the media reaction was? Well, it's not clear that the emails were actually gonna hurt Trump. It's threatening Biden supporters. Okay, let's look at this. The Iranians created spoofed emails that were being sent around where it was supposedly Proud Boys. Remember all the focus on Proud Boys a few weeks ago and white supremacists. Who wants to guess if a moderator tonight is gonna ask President Trump, "Excuse me, sir, but my journalistic integrity forces me to ask this question. I don't want to ask it, but I have to ask it. Do you denounce white supremacy, Mr. President?" Like, for the 50th time, right? I know I'm going to take a lot of heat for this, sir. I know I'm not going to get invited to the fancy parties and people aren't going to high-five me at the country club. Or maybe they'll do all of those things because I asked this question. But do you denounce white supremacy, sir? Yeah, they're going to. I think it's a pretty good chance that'll be out. Look, Savannah Guthrie did it recently after it was already done by Chris Wallace. Yeah, I'll never, nothing Chris Wallace says or puts out, I have no interest in any of it. I mean, I never did really before, to be honest, but definitely not at this point. So now we get to the emails and what they were really meant to do. So they sent out emails pretending to be Proud Boys, and the Iranian government and these Iranian false flag actors saw this as an opportunity to create greater division in the U.S. And let me also say that this is now something we should expect all the time, because the Democrats, for partisan purposes, wildly exaggerated the effect and the influence of even a very minor web-based influence operation for our election. Now, all countries that want to mess with us around the world can do this. Doesn't matter how effective it is. Doesn't matter if they get caught. At a minimum, the story breaks, and then one side in our country can blame the other and say, well, Russia or China or Iran or North Korea or wherever, depending on who actually does it, helped you cheat, therefore you didn't really win. You see how that pulls us apart? You see how that creates tremendous friction, and therefore it's a great victory. It doesn't have to be significant. You don't if you're Iran, you don't have to change the results of the election to poison American politics by doing just a little bit of interference in the election, you see? That's the standard that has now been set because the Democrats are crybabies who can't accept that they lost. So this just encourages, and this isn't a new theory, I've been telling you this for years, this just encourages other countries to get on this game. In fact, if you listen to old shows, I have to go back and find it, but I was saying, you're going to have other countries that do this. I said it, I knew it. Other countries will get involved in this game because, if nothing else, it's just a way of showing national spite for America from some other place that doesn't like us, that some regime that, it shows disrespect. It doesn't have to be effective for it to be a very clear middle finger extended in Uncle Sam's direction. But so then the media pretended, well, if it's from Proud Boys, which it wasn't, but if we're going to say it's from Proud Boys, and then if we're going to say that the Proud Boys are, that the Proud Boys are trying to intimidate Democrats from going to vote, why is this? This is feigned stupidity, I think, although I don't know, a lot of journalists are really dumb. Unfortunately, your average journalist is like a B- English literature student from a third-tier liberal arts college or, a second or third rung state school somewhere. That's what you get for a lot of journos. It's not a particularly impressive bunch. And the ones that went to fancy schools, overwhelmingly, they're either legacy admits or affirmative action admits or, trust me, not a lot of geniuses running around in the mainstream media, but you already knew that. So now we look at what really happens when these emails go around. Right. The Proud Boys are allegedly, it's not them, it's a spoof. We've already established that. But they're allegedly threatening Biden voters. The whole point is then the Biden camp can turn around and see, look at these right-wing extremists threatening people on behalf of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a white supremacist. Donald Trump, it just plays in that narrative. That's how it harms Trump, obviously. People aren't really going to not show up at the polls because of this Iranian influence operation. Right? This is not reality. What's much more likely is what's exactly happened here, which is that Trump gets blamed for something that not only Trump didn't do, but not even Trump supporters have done, or even Proud Boys or whatever. And it helps the Biden campaign as a result. It's also something that points to how, if you're Iran, you really want Biden to win. Look at what Trump has done to the Iranians. Pulled out of the deal, said, sorry, you guys are jerks. Your country is not going to be allowed to play in the international community the way that it wants to. We're going to keep sanctions in place. And if you mess with us, we're going to come down on you like an anvil. And, oh, by the way, Qasem Soleimani, who was the architect of many murder missions against U.S. soldiers, right? Iran was not at war with us. This was done as a total black ops, off the book, so to speak, situation on the part of the Iranians. They were killing our soldiers. The Iranian government was ordering our soldiers killed, and Qasem Soleimani was at the heart of this. And then President Trump gave the order to turn Qasem into a pink mist, and that is what happened. And we were told, oh my gosh, the Iranian response, the fury will shake us down to our foundation. And actually, Trump made it very clear to them, yeah, we took him out. That was the right move. He deserved it. You want to try something else? Like I've said all along, Trump can be a little bit unpredictable, but kind of like having Doc Holliday on the street howitzer. You want the guy who's willing to pull the trigger and keep the enemy off balance to be part of your team. You want him on your side. And that certainly worked with the Iranians, which also reminds me of Obama talking about foreign policy and also just how not normal everything is. Well, here, Obama's supposed to be the secret weapon the Democrats have held in reserve to the last moment here. Play 21.
We're not going to have a president that goes out of his way to insult anybody who doesn't support him or threaten them with jail. That's not normal presidential behavior. We wouldn't tolerate it from a high school principal. We wouldn't tolerate it from a coach. We wouldn't tolerate it from a coworker. We wouldn't tolerate it in our own family, except for maybe crazy uncle somewhere, he's I mean, why would we expect and accept this from the President of the United States?
Why is Obama yelling the whole time he's talking? Why does he keep his voice up here when he's at a microphone? I just, because it, I don't miss that guy at all, I'll tell you. I don't miss him at all. But he was also saying on foreign policy that we need to be respected again, like we were under the Obama administration. Of course, that's the takeaway. That's what it's supposed to be for that. And I've just got to say, I actually remember, and Obama apparently doesn't, the bloody catastrophes in Syria and Libya, the rise of ISIS, major deterioration in our situation in Iraq and Afghanistan, our troops deployed there, Obama's embarrassing apology tour, bowing to foreign heads of state for no apparent reason, pallets of cash for Iran. These are all defining disasters of the Obama foreign policy era. What are the defining foreign policy disasters of the Trump administration? Peace deals in the Middle East, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, finally hitting back at the Iranians and not suffering any real consequences, pulling out of the disastrous Paris Climate Accord that no one's really going to enforce anyway. Where's the big, he was too nice to Kim Jong-un in negotiations. That's what we're supposed to all be losing sleep at night about. Sorry, not going to happen.
I'm keeping the terrorists, jihadists, and violent extremists the hell out of our country, if that's okay with you. And I will never say it because it's not good to say it, and I'm knocking on nice, beautiful wood because I can tell it's ours because they spend a lot of money on building these things. But you haven't seen too much happening on that front, have you, huh? You notice? Okay, well, keep your eyes open. Okay, keep your eyes open because they'd love to do something. Just keep your eyes open. But there's a reason for things not happening also.
The president has also managed to keep the terrorists, the jihadists, the extremists, at least off balance and much quieter than they've been in years. President Trump's administration is the first one that I can remember as an adult where we didn't have the constant specter of another mass casualty jihadist attack hanging over our heads. He gets no credit for this, at least from the media and from the left. He hasn't started a new war. We're not embroiled in some new conflict. Gets no credit from the anti-war demonstrators and the so-called peace movement in this country. Really just usually a Trojan horse for a lot of socialists and radical Marxists. Oh, we just want world peace, except when the communist dictators are running wild all over the place. Then all of a sudden it's, glorious revolution time. And you should also remember that Trump on the one hand says how great America is all the time. And this is what Joe Biden says. Because, I've often told you before, there are people who take pride in being American in this country, and there are people who take pride in thinking they're better than America. The latter are known as Democrats. Here's Joe Biden basically saying that. Play 4.
America was an idea, an idea. We hold these truths to be self-evident. We've never lived up to it, but we've never walked away from it before. And I just think we have to be more honest and let our kids know as we raise them what actually did happen. Acknowledge our mistakes so we don't repeat them.
We've never lived up to them. I don't know. I think in World War II, we defeated the true global threat of fascism and stopped the extermination of millions and millions of people. 6 million Jews, 11 million people in total in the Nazi death camps. I think we lived up. I think that the guys storming the beaches at Normandy, and I think those, fighting on the barren, rocky landscape of Iwo Jima, I think they lived up to it. I think we have many times lived up to it. But Joe Biden's a Democrat. A lot of people with sad, empty visions of themselves and the country that they live in, who are just desperate for approval and power and don't spend much time thinking about issues like humility and how lucky they are. No, that's for Republicans. Democrats would rather just trash the country that's given them so much. And Joe Biden's a great champion of that trashing. I recently got a crash course in home title theft. You better pray this crime never happens to you, because it can ruin you financially. It goes after your most valuable asset, your home. Here's what happens. The legal titles to all of our homes are online, right? They're kept in servers in the cloud. A cyber thief hacks into them and then forges your signature on a quitclaim deed stating you sold your home to them. Then they take out loans against the equity in your home, leave you with the payments, maybe even something you don't find out about until you get a foreclosure notice. You won't know about this until those calls come in from collections. Insurance and common identity theft programs won't protect you. You need a virtual barrier around your home's title with Home Title Lock. Go to HomeTitleLock.com and enter your address to see if you're already a victim of this crime and don't even know it. You also can use promo code RADIO for 30 free days of protection. Again, go to HomeTitleLock.com, enter promo code RADIO for 30 free days of protection. Do it today. Got a debate tonight in Nashville. Love Nashville, a place I really would like to spend more time. Great town, great people, food, music, so much to recommend it. And I know it's becoming a bigger destination nationwide. People are saying, I'm going to move to Tennessee. I'm going to move to Nashville. Or Memphis. There's some great cities there. Chattanooga. I hear nice things about Chattanooga. But debate tonight in Memphis. I'm sorry, in Nashville, not Memphis. Debate tonight in Nashville. And the president's going to have some opportunities to push his opponent on things that we know the media won't. Don't expect, I mean, I don't think anybody believes that there will be a serious push from the moderators to get something out of Joe Biden that he doesn't want to share, because they're not there to get the truth. I mean, the reason for this debate, as far as the moderators are concerned, is so that Joe Biden can check off the box after basically hiding in the basement for most of the campaign, so he can pretend like he's running an actual campaign, and so that maybe they can trip Trump up a little bit and get some last-minute undecideds to sway over to Joe Biden. That's what the moderators are thinking. They don't care what Trump supporters think of their bias. They could care less. In fact, they will wear the scorn of Trump supporters as a badge of honor, depending on how the debate goes tonight. They'll think it shows what serious and good journos they are. But there's one area where I think there will be a bit of a push, and that's on court packing, because, you know, there's a new answer now from Joe Biden. For weeks, he was saying, I can't answer that because my answer will be a story as a presidential candidate that people talk about. To which everybody said, yeah, correct. But he got away with it for a while. And it's because he ultimately doesn't want to tell the left-wing base of the Democrat Party they're not willing to completely remake an essential American governmental institution that is necessary for the balance of powers, and it's necessary that it not just become an obvious, blatant tool of politics. And it already has to some degree, but making it worse is not going to make it better. Biden was asked by 60 Minutes about court packing, and this was fascinating because he's got this new answer he just came up with. Play 3.
If elected, what I will do is I'll put together a national commission, bipartisan commission of scholars, constitutional scholars, Democrats, Republicans, liberal, conservative, and I will ask them to, over 180 days, come back to me with recommendations as to how to reform the court system, because it's getting out of whack, the way in which it's being handled. And it's not about court packing. There's a number of other things that our constitutional scholars have debated, and I'd look to see what recommendations that commission might make.
So you're telling us you're going to study this issue about whether to pack the court?
No, whether there's a number of alternatives that go well beyond packing.
This is a live ball.
Oh, it is a live ball. No, it is a live ball. We're going to have to do that. And you're going to find there's a lot of conservative constitutional scholars who are saying it as well. The last thing we need to do is turn the Supreme Court into just a political football. Whoever has the most votes gets whatever they want. Presidents come and go. Supreme Court justices stay for generations.
I mean, first of all, what was that? Presidents come and go, and, yeah, a lot of scholars, a lot of conservative scholars are... No. This is the kind of sound leadership, though, you should expect from Joe Biden. On an issue like this of such great national importance, you're going to have a guy who's saying, well, I'm going to form a committee, and the committee's going to tell me what I should do. We're all supposed to say, oh, that's great, Joe. Yeah, form that committee, man. Awesome. There's only one of two outcomes that the committee will give him, right? I don't mean by their decision. I mean why he would do that. One is so that he can say, I formed a committee, and then just ignore it and do whatever he wants. Or two, he wants to use the committee as an excuse for not doing anything. I think it's most likely the first one. I had the committee come together, but why would this? What do you need a committee for? This is a matter of what the Congress is going to do. The Congress is the committee. And so it's really just up to whether the president would support this or not. So what Joe Biden is telling you is that at this stage, after being in politics for over 40 years, in elected office for over 40 years, he wants you to know that he's not really sure how he feels about court packing. He thinks it needs more study. Yes, this is the leadership that you'll be able to expect from Joe Biden. This is the kind of really clear, fearless, out in the front stuff that you'll expect from Joe Biden. Look, I think we all need to understand, first of all, the Democrats are caught here because they're the ones that created the arms race in the Supreme Court in the first place. You look back during the Clinton years, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Souter, and these. I know that wasn't. He's not Clinton years, but whatever. You look back at left-wing judges. Republicans have waved through left-wing judges time and time again. Republicans have voted alongside with Democrats to put forward Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Elena Kagan and even Sotomayor, she's an embarrassment to the Supreme Court, but she sits on it, and Souter and go down the list. Republicans go along with that. It's Democrats who are like, no, we must have somebody that suits our ideological positions on the court, and we will stop anybody who does not fall into that category. Well, you've been able, as a leftist, they've been able to get away with that for a long time. But eventually people tire of that. They see what's really happening. They understand that the Democrats are playing games here and that their interest is not in what's best for the rule of law and for the institution of the Supreme Court. Their interest is in getting their way, having the Supreme Court be a super legislature. It's exactly what they're trying to do here. So that's, as we focus in on why they're so upset over the elevation of the completely qualified Amy Coney Barrett, their complaints are just because we're seeing who they really are. Senator Mike Lee gets it. Play 11.
One party, the Democrats, has been the aggressor in every single instance. At every step along the way, our side has used our constitutional authority, and the other side has abused its authority. There is no tit for tat. There's just tat. Democrats killed Judge Bork's nomination for partisan political reasons. They killed Miguel Estrada's nomination for partisan political reasons. They slandered Justice Thomas, Justice Alito, and Justice Kavanaugh for partisan political reasons. They nuked the filibuster, again, for partisan political reasons. And now they're trying to scuttle this meeting, this hearing, this vote for partisan political reasons. When it comes to the judiciary, abuse of power is their agenda.
Correct. The whole point of the Supreme Court, as far as libs are concerned, is to get what they want. It's not to have an eminent body of scholars and esteemed intellectuals in the matters of legal jurisprudence who are going to come to constitutionally faithful decisions. That's not the purpose of the Supreme Court as far as the Democrat Party, the American left, is concerned. It's transactional. We have this thing. We want it to do the things we want it to do. Look, Republicans are the ones who always end up putting up these judges like Roberts who just keep betraying what we thought was their judicial philosophy in the case of Roberts because, he likes being thought of as the guy who's protecting the institution of the court. He likes that he won't really get trashed in the editorial pages of the New York Times the way other judges like Alito and Thomas will and do. So it's really about vanity. One man's vanity is changing federal law, in a sense, for all the rest of us. That's what we end up with. The left, on the big issues, they never break ranks because they know why they're there. They understand that this is the expectation, and that's why they were put into this job in the first place. But nonetheless, the Democrats are whining about this because we are days away from what should be the Amy Coney Barrett confirmation conclusion, I think on this Monday. So, Chuck Schumer's very upset about this. Here he is, play 23.
I am here to stand with my colleagues on the Judiciary Committee who are boycotting today's committee markup on the nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. This is not a decision the members of the committee have taken lightly, but a Republican majority has left us no choice. We are boycotting this illegitimate hearing. The nomination of Amy Coney Barrett is the most illegitimate process I have ever witnessed in the Senate.
Why is it illegitimate? This is the only thing you have to do. Ask that very basic, very straightforward question. What exactly about this is illegitimate? They don't, it's an election year. Where is that in the Constitution? Where is that in the rules of the Senate? in the law anywhere. So how is it illegitimate for the Democrats is a stand-in word they're using here for I don't like. I don't like what's happening, so I'm just going to call it illegitimate. They're bastardizing. They are changing in real time the definition of the word because it's useful for them. Cory Booker, who hopefully is not going to cry as he says this, also is calling for the Senate GOP to stop the Barrett nomination because people have voted early? What? Play 12.
This is not right. It is wrong. That we should have a nation right now in the midst of an election where people know that their health care is on the ballot, that equal justice is on the ballot, that access to securing your most fundamental rights and equalities on the ballot, that we should not wait for the American people to speak as they already are speaking and wait to do this until after the next inauguration. To me, this is stunning. It is anti-democratic, and it is an affront to what I believe are a lot of our shared, most cherished values and ideas. In addition to that, it's contrary to the very words of so many of my colleagues.
I mean, none of their arguments are even a little bit compelling. It's all just kind of an emotional appeal to their fellow Democrats. It's so bad what they're doing is like so upsetting. I'm so mad about it. Completely legitimate. It is the opposite of illegitimate. It is totally legitimate. And everyone can see that, or at least anybody who is being honest. Amy Coney Barrett will be a fine Supreme Court justice. Donald Trump will have installed 3 Supreme Court picks in his first 4 years, which is also a reminder for a lot of people who felt like they were holding their nose in the last election, voting for Trump because of judges and because of the need to have judges who will protect the Constitution and not be left-wing activists. They played the right hand. They made the right move. They can't have any doubts or any regrets about that now, seeing what's actually ended up happening. So I think that should be very encouraging. Because, look, I'm seeing these polls. I see what's going on right now with this effort to make it seem like the Trump campaign can't win. It's already too late. You know, they're too far behind. Not buying it. Not buying it. I know that in some key states, Trump, or rather Biden, is underperforming where Hillary was. But who knows with the polls? Think about how dishonest the media is in this election cycle, more than I've ever seen before. I mean, they're more willing to be blatant in the dishonesty. They used to be a little bit more subtle. There was more tactical caution in their bias than right now. It's just anything for Biden. I mean, they're all just like little Biden bots running around doing everything they can to help him. So I think there's also the very real chance that a lot of these polling agencies, they're not going to be wrong intentionally by a lot, but the tie is always going to go to the Biden, if you know what I mean. They're always going to skew in that direction because that's what happened in 2016. I think that's what's happening once again because someone's going to pay them and they want to be on the right side of the Democrat apparatus. Dr. Jill Biden's not really a doctor, but why don't we take some medical advice from her on masking and rallies? Play 19.
Well, I think this administration has made it political. I mean, we need to listen to the doctors and the scientists. That's what we have to do. And I think it's totally irresponsible that people are going to these rallies and they're not wearing masks. They're not socially distancing. It's irresponsible, and people will die because of this.
People will die because of Trump, right? That's the would-be first lady there. She's already been the second. Do we call her the second lady? I don't know if that's a thing, but there's the would-be first lady telling us all this about masks. I got to tell you, my favorite mask-wearing story from this week is Chris Cuomo, who loves to go on TV and be like, hey, really serious look in his eyes, really a lot of gravitas he's pulling together. He's, hey, wear a mask. Save lives. Wear a mask. Right. Turns out there's a letter, which has, I believe, been verified at this point, and it was on Tucker's show last night, from his building, his fancy building in New York City where he lives. where he is being scolded for putting other residents at risk for not wearing a mask in his own building. So when it comes to his own actions, and I think this surprises absolutely nobody, one of the biggest wear a mask or you're a bad person advocates does not himself, around other people, wear a mask when there's not a camera around. Does anyone get surprised at all by this kind of a fraud? No, right? We actually expect it at this point. I think everyone just figures, oh, okay, so, another BS journalist here who's doing what we all know they do, which is say one thing for the cameras and try to get the clicks and the likes and the follows. And then when it comes to their own personal behavior, they completely dispense with it. Look, I didn't wear a mask all summer in my building, even though it was required because there was no COVID in New York, and it's absurd. And I also think that wearing a mask for the 5 seconds I walk through my lobby is idiocy. But I tell you that every day. Like, I tell you that all the time. I'm honest about it. And now, because my building is so paranoid, fine, I wear a mask when I walk in and out. I take it off the second I get into fresh air, but I carry one in my back pocket. I use the same mask all the time. It's disgusting. It's like putting a swamp on my mouth now. But anyway, but I'm consistent. Someone like Cuomo is a fraud, wants you to wear a mask, wants to be able to control you, and wants the virtue signaling points for demanding that control, but has no interest himself in living by the mandates that he forces upon you. You're a bad person if you don't do it. He's a good person for telling you to do it, but he's not going to do it. That really is the Democrat Party defined right now. It's true of the way they view the environment, taxes, social justice, everything. Just all a big bacchanal of hypocrisy.